are back with our second conversation for this morning. In studio with us, we have representatives from the Labor Department, Public Employment Service Unit, Brenda Serrano and Vernon Avila. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
All right, so the last time you guys were here, it was to launch a 3-day Labor Department kind of enhancing the unemployed or the employed technical skills and capabilities and to build their resume. So talk to us a little bit about how that went before we get into the root of the conversation.
Okay, the recruitment drive that happened in July, right? It was a success. We targeted 200 job seekers to be enrolled, to be placed in different call centers, since that was our main target, to be customer service and sales agent. We had, out of the 200, we got 115 who remained for the 3 days. During that 3 days, they learn about social security, their benefits, labor presentation, labor laws, customer service. And we have to give kudos to our support staff, our employment officers that came from PG who assisted us, who delivered some of those presentations. And during that time, we have other presentations from Radical and Global, and we did a screening process for them so we could have known exactly how they fit in the BPO industry, and it was very successful. And also, we have job seekers who came along who weren't interested in being sales agent, but they wanted the training nonetheless. And that is what we're here to finish target, because when you do job preparedness training, it's not about a particular area. It's about any area that they can fit in the world of work. So that is what we're trying to do. So the recruitment drive was a success, and we're trying to build more capacity within the young people or people who are employed to come to the Labor Department to register and try to get the knowledge so they can actually move in different direction in their career development.
What is the kind of interest being generated from young people for this kind of an initiative? I would gather that perhaps they're the ones who need it most. If you're looking at young people entering the world of work, the whole job industry and what have you, you would think that they have a certain degree of interest in this kind of training where they would be able to learn certain things going in. What is the generation of interest there?
Well, basically the interest, most individuals have a certain mindset whereby they see it, oh, I know this information already, but when they come on board or come for the 3-day recruitment drive that we had, they see a different aspect whereby they enhance their knowledge or sharpen their CV. And to add to what Ms. Ferguson mentioned, we place them on our employment service system online. So those job seekers, those 115, are on our system, and they will seek job for them. So we do the linkage so we can find better, or like Ms. Ferguson mentioned, maybe they don't want to work in the BPO industry. So we'll then try to seek other agencies or jobs related to what they're seeking.
Yeah. How does this make it easier for them in the sense that, like when we were growing up, perhaps, we didn't have
this technology.
Yeah, or job placements and that kind of thing. You go out there and you find your own job based on your interests and your qualifications and what have you. I think this kind of facilitation makes it a whole lot easier for people to find their fit, so to speak. Can you speak on that?
Well, like I said, it's much easier for the youth now in our era, because they have the support.
Yes.
They don't have to be, they just have to walk into the department, okay, fill out the qualification, the criteria that we're looking for, and so we can try to make a match. It becomes easier because we're the one who actually make the match for them. And if we see that they need more skill set to get that job, we will try to reach out to get them those disciplines. And we have contact with the employers, right, to make it much easier as well, because we have to try to tailor what the employer they want, and so we suit it to them. So they just have to make sure that they show up, have the correct mindset, they're interested, and we provide that movement for them.
What is the level of preparedness when they walk in? So I know that you all have to to kind of provide a little bit of this is how you do an interview, this is how you get your resume prepared and so forth. What has been the level of preparedness for then the person that comes in and says, okay, let's attempt to see how you're able to go through an interview, or let's attempt to furbish your resume a little bit. How is the preparedness?
Well, when they walk in, they're not really prepared for anything. They just decide that, okay, I heard that labor department will help me find a job.
Okay.
And when they reach in front of us, that is when the reality kick in. Yes, we might help you to find a job, but are you qualified to get the job? So when we look at it, we have to say, okay, we need to do X, Y, and Z, and they left with them open like, I can't believe that we actually have to.
Much.
Yes,
yeah.
Because when they say that, oh, I want anything. There is not anything out there. So we have to trickle that down. We have to see exactly how we can fit you. So, and that's when we focus on what are your goals, what are your skills, what do you want to do, where you see yourself, right? So we have to come back down to that and decide how we can mentor them to try to challenge them into going in a different direction. And that is where they build character. And that is where we learn their personalities and we know exactly how we can fit them. And they feel much more appreciated because they return back. And when we finish register them and we put them on the system, they're not left there to dry. They're being called that you need to come in so we can complete this. If we make a match, you have to come in so we can see if you fit in that job, if that is what you want. And then we prep them in interview sessions. And if you're not ready, we tell you cannot go. We have to wait until you're ready. Then we just take them back and we continue.
So there's follow-up in terms of being able to.
And follow-up is one of the main things that we need to do because we cannot leave them there.
And to add to what Ms. Ferguson mentioned, each section we give them homework per se. So we have like identify your skills, we'll give you like different scenarios, give you a homework. Resume writing, we'll ask you to bring out like a template or a sample and so forth. So we try to prep them in each area that we present to them so they have a mindset, oh, no, I don't know, but when you go home, you at least have a certain mindset, and when we come, we actually fine-tune it for you. So when you actually present your resume to the employers, it's well written.
What's the I know we were talking about generational gap just now, but what is the age range that you're seeing in terms of these people's coming in?
We have from 14 to the oldest will be 49, 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when they come in that young, we recognize that they cannot work. But yes, we can provide the skills, but we also have to do kicking our referral mechanism where we have to go to human services, where we have to go to Ministry of Education, right? Department of Youth Service, so we can facilitate to get help for them to put them back in the system. And since we the Ministry of Education policy said that you must be in school 16, so we have more work to do, and we have to make sure that they get into school so they can at least develop those basic skills, and we can go on from there.
So let's talk about the job preparedness training. We were talking about it a little bit, but you guys are looking to expand it outside of Belize City. So talk about the success and talk about what is allowing you to expand now, and where are you going?
Okay, you want to go?
Sure. The recruitment drive that we held in July, the success rate was really awesome, I must say, because given we cater for 200 individuals and we get 115, and we certify them on the third day, which was the 19th, and we actually upload them in our employment service system portal. So what we're trying to do now, this was only for Belize City, we're trying to expand to San Pedro and Kikaker. And so on the 16th, which will be tomorrow, I'm going to do a presentation, a job preparedness training at the San Pedro Town Council conference room, and Ms. Ferguson will do the one in Kikaker, which will be on the 18th.
Yeah.
So we're trying to finish out the Eastern Division that we see it as, and we try to educate these individuals in certain areas, or like I mentioned, fine-tune their skills.
Yeah.
What I find interesting is that a lot of young people gravitate towards the customer service industry or sector, if I could say that. I think with the popularity of call centers and BPOs and what have you, young people come straight from high school in some cases, or it's sort of like a way station, like a bridge between where they end off right now and where they plan to be down the road, but for the interim, they're doing customer service care and that type of thing. I think perhaps that's part of the reason why you guys chose the BPO sector to focus on. When you look at that level of interest in this particular field and being able to kind of hone in on what should be the things that these young people need to learn to be able to work and be able to work at a very proficient level in these areas, what are some of those things that you've observed, young people coming in, that you need to help sharpen up on?
Your work ethic.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it last
Work
time that we were
ethic
here.
is one of the major thing that we have observed.
In what way?
Well, in terms of tardiness, dress code, respect for the workplace, professionalism, listen, and communication.
The tardiness part, I feel like that's a cultural thing though. We do this Belizean time situation and we kind of count on that. It's the reality, it is. You know, we tend to be like, oh, well, you know, it's not really late. I'm not late if it's 8:05. It's still 8, but it's not, right? So then how do you maneuver that kind of cultural mindset?
It's a bit difficult, but the thing is, there are repercussions, right? So when we speak about knowing the laws of a worker, what your right is and what the employer expect, we dwell that in their mind that you're on their time. It's not your time. It's not your business. So you have to give that respect to the company. And if you decide that you want to remain here, that is how you have to carry yourself. We go back to the school setting. When you wake up in the morning, you need to make sure that you arrive on time, and you're at school, you're dressed properly, you have everything in your school bag and so forth. So the stuff that we learned when we were younger, it prepares us for the world of work. So we have to continue that same trend, right? So ethics start with the golden rules. It starts with your behavior, your morals, right? Your upbringing. So if some people are lacking of that, we try to go back and revisit. What have you learned? What have your mother taught you? And when you put that in that setting, you're like, okay, now I understand. And they change that type of mindset, and they say they know they need to actually do better, be better.
Right, because it's not just yeah, go ahead.
I to what Ms. Ferguson mentioned. Each individual is different. So it's like each case is different on a whole. So when an individual enter the workplace, we have to be something like we're considered like counselors, and we do educate them and try to prep them fully as possible. And when we're entering the workplace or do this type of training, we do include labor presentation as well, so they know certain laws that they should know before they actually on site for that workplace. So we try to mold them as best as possible. Some individual right now will have the mindset whereby, oh, I know you're wrong, but how are you telling me and I'm trying to educate you? So when they actually leave our office, they have a different mindset, a different perception of life. So that we try to do at the labor department.
Because it's not just about getting the job, right? It's also about keeping the
Yes,
job.
that is correct.
It's oftentimes the most difficult thing to keep the job, right? Because you could fancy up the resume and the CV and nail the interview, get the job. But when it comes to putting into practice the ethics that you discuss, right? Punctuality, professionalism, and respect on the job, and being able to deliver on workload, because I think that's another part that we don't really look at as seriously. Because you could get to work for 8 o'clock. You could be as mannerly as you can be, right? But the actual meat of the matter is your ability to deliver on what you're there to do. And so if you're not trained, not necessarily for that, but trained to be able to identify what needs to get done during the space of time that you are at work, then that's the best way to be productive, the best way to be fruitful on the job. Because I always look at things like, you're dressed up, you're properly dressed up in your uniform that has your logo and all of that stuff.
Your tie, attire, everything is
there at 8 o'clock, but half of the morning you're at the water cooler, or you're going through Facebook or what have you, right? So while you have parts of it down pat, the most essential part is where you're not exercising what you should be doing.
Yeah. And to add to that, when we do send job seekers into work, and speaking on work ethics and so forth, we do that. So we give the employer that support because we randomly go to any employer when you do inspections. We have talks with the workers. We want to see where they are. Then we approach the employer. What are you doing? How we can make changes?
Yeah.
And we offer our services to them. We can come in. We can do some training so we can get back on track, because sometimes we need that support. We might be outside. We don't know what is happening inside. So when we go in, we identify certain things that we see that the employer can change, and we build that relationship.
Let me ask another question now that we're having this conversation. Sure. Right ahead. Go right ahead.
So at what as Ferguson mentioned, we also do progress reports. So we usually go and see how that individual is actually performing at the establishment. And then we try to have a discussion with the employer to see what areas he or she falls or lack in. So we try then have that discussion and write a report. So each individual case, like I mentioned, is different. And that's why we do a progress report or a background check, how everything is going. Okay, he's late in punctuality, we will then maybe take that individual onto the side and then have a one-on-one session. You're not only displaying yourself, you're displaying the labor department, because we are the one that actually mold you to have that
that link as well.
Correct.
Which brings me to my question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Perfect segue, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I may be wrong with this, it's just the way I'm looking at it, that perhaps there's some kind of a barrier, adventure as far as saying perhaps even a stigma, where the relationship between certain businesses or the relationship between the employer and the labor department, most of the time we hear labor department, it's because there's an issue that is being complained about on the part of the employee going to you guys, right? Now in this particular instance, you're working closely with the employer to ensure that these individuals who you're grooming are their best. But how do you break that initial ice, so to speak, or break or move away from that stigma that, you know what, the labor department isn't just about people coming here to complain about hours and this, that, and the third, but it's here to actually develop young people, in this case, to be better professionals.
That's why we do a lot of outreach. And in our outreach, we try to make sure that they understand the laws, because most of the time the stigma comes from ignorance to the law. Right? And if we're out there trying to make sure that they understand what their rights are and what the employer can and what the employee can do when it comes to the law, within the scope of the law, they will know it, they will understand exactly. We don't have perfect people, we make mistakes, right? But the labor department is always there to support the employer and the employee, just as long as it's in confines of the law. So that's why we preach like gospel of the labor act is the gospel for the labor officers, that these are what the law stipulates on the land, and we need you to be educated so you understand, because yes, it might have laws, but it also have different things in terms of code of conduct. It speaks on communication, it speaks on different strategies, what you need to do, and it cannot be just that there's one that you want to bash the whole labor department, because we're doing our best to make sure that you understand what the laws are.
So I want to quickly end with two things. One, are you ever going to expand out of the Belize district? And two, are you also planning to go into other private, partner with other private entities for this job preparedness training?
Yes, we have offices countrywide. We have employment officers countrywide. And Belize City is the central, and we're going to roll it out to each district. We have the employment officers are on the ground, as we speak, gathering their information, gathering enough job seekers so that we can have a proper job preparedness training. And also we try to collaborate with employers, because and what we forget to mention, that we focus on entrepreneurship, right? So, and that is one of the key things with the employment unit as well, because we want to do different business plan, we want to do a business incubator, so that we can, come aboard and let us see exactly how we can try to bridge that gap. And because people, they don't necessarily want to go into the work field, they want to work for themselves, right? So we have many different things on our belt that we will achieve as long as we have the proper roadmap in place and the collaboration with our stakeholders.
Okay, so this particular job training, one more time, it is rolling out in San Pedro and Kikaker.
For San Pedro and Kikaker. For San Pedro, it will be tomorrow. It will be the 16th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the San Pedro conference room. And Ms. Ferguson will be conducting the one in Kikaker. It will be at the Village
Conference room in Kikaker.
On the 18th.
Same time, 9 to 4.
So Kikaker and San Pedro people, we invite you guys to come on board and let us educate you or sharpen up your your skills or any information that you feel like you lack or you need improvement. We're here for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think it's a great initiative, and I really hope that people take into that work ethic education and the knowing your laws, because that's true. People don't really know the labor laws or the Labor Act. So Brenda, Vernon, thank you both so much for stopping by, and best of luck for this training.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, and with that, we're going to take our next break, and when we get back, we have our last conversation for this morning, so stay tuned.